Now, last week, Graham, you caused a bit of a stir because you said De Zerbi. I'm not sure about this guy.
I think it's a risk. You're bringing someone in who doesn't know our game because of modern technology. You can Google. He said he was impressed with his knowledge of Brighton and what they've done and the way they attempt to play. Well, they could have got that off Google, most of it. So that's not the work of a genius. I think it's a risk. I have to say, I think it's a risk bringing someone with his CV, the 7 jobs in 9 years. If you're an outstanding coach, then people want to hold on to you. It's a bit like being a player. If you're a player that had 15 clubs, 12 clubs, that's telling a lot about you. So they're making an appointment with a manager who has no history of the English game, doesn't know the players, and the question I asked about what football people are going to be at the club to help him, and he will need help. I think that's very important. That's a big risk.
So De Zerbi has smacked the ball right back into your court, Mr. Souness. Would you like to return it?
Can I point at one game and they got a draw? And you're jumping up and down.
No one's jumping up and down.
But
has a guy not made a first day statement?
Everything I said, and against the Liverpool team where everyone knows is not firing at the moment, I said 3 things. He's new to our football. Fact. He's had 7 jobs in 9 years. Fact. And with every player that you sign, or with every manager that you employ, there's a risk. I made 3 points there, and all 3 of them are factually correct.
But what's factually correct is he made not a bad opening day statement.
And I'll tell you what else is factually correct. He's inheriting a very good group of players who have a way of playing, and in the short time he's been there, even if he wanted to change the way they were playing, he couldn't because he's been there in such a brief time. And I don't see why he'd want to change it. It'd be a case of more of the same, please. You're playing really well.
Did you go slightly too early on?
No. And
we're not slightly dismissive of him going into his opening game.
No, not in the slightest. The 3 things I said are 3 factual points. That is a common sense attitude to take. Where people going early, you've gone early, jumping up and down about a guy.
You've gone earlier.
You've gone early, talking about a guy who's played 1 game and got a draw at Anfield.
So you still think he's a risky appointment?
But every manager's a risk. Every player you sign is a risk. Who can put their name to any player and say, I guarantee you this guy will be a success? What owner can say, I guarantee you when we get this manager, we will be successful? There's a risk with every move you make in football, Jim.
But when you said, he doesn't
you're trying
know
to
our
make
game.
It's your job. You've got that
jerry can on me.
You've got that jerry can underneath the table, just stoking the fire. There's nothing I've said that wasn't factual.
No, but when you said he doesn't know our game, he's coming here doesn't know our game. Was that not a cheap shot though?
Any foreign manager coming here will not know our game. He's worked his whole life and he was in the Ukraine and he was in Italy.
Did you know the game in Turkey when you went there? Or Portugal?
No. Because I was around.
And this is the same Graeme Souness, right, by the way, who had 5 jobs in 5 years. So what do you mean? You left Liverpool
5 jobs in 5 years.
Galatasaray, Southampton, Torino, Benfica and Blackburn Rovers.
So I was 2 years at Liverpool.
5 years. But this guy had 2 years in his last job. You didn't factor that into it.
No,
yes, he did. In his last job, he had 2 or 3 years.
5 years, 5 jobs. Run them. And I'll give you
Liverpool. Left Liverpool 94. You went to Galatasaray 95.
Right.
Southampton, Torino, Benfica, Blackburn Rovers.
So let me
between Galatasaray, I've just named them. Galatasaray, Southampton, Torino, Benfica, Blackburn Rovers.
You're about 20 minutes in Torino.
2.5. Yeah, six games.
But no one knew the backstory, right?
2 years.
The backstory.
That was a Nottingham Forest situation. 2 years at Liverpool. 2.5 years at Liverpool. A year at which only signed a year contract at Galatasaray. Where else was there? After
Southampton.
That was a year.
Benfica. And then Blackburn Rovers. So you've had 5 or 6 clubs in 6 years.
So I don't know about you.
7 years.
For Roberto De Zerbi, I'm reading Graeme Souness.
Well, absolutely.
So that was 7 years.
Because obviously it would be different for Graeme because everyone would know that who you were.
I had 8 jobs in, I think, was it 17, 18 years?
Yes, you did.
You're all Wikipedia'd up there.
And I'm Googling you, so I wanted to see the strength of your argument, because what you're doing is you're sort of baiting and switching. There is a risk of everything. Hang on, I haven't finished. What you did was you went all down the risk side. Now what you're doing is slightly qualifying it more now by saying every manager.
How long was I in management?
But how long was you in management? You were in management for 18 years, 20 years.
How many jobs did I have?
9.
8, I think, isn't it?
Well, then what you asked me for, if you know then.
So that would suggest that I spent, I think I had 5 years at Liverpool, close to 5 years at Blackburn Rovers. So that would suggest that I did have longevity and 11 trophies in 3 different countries.
And this guy has had in his last 2 jobs, right? They've lasted 5 years. So the first 4 or 5 jobs were very short-term jobs, and
they've all been short-term. Those 1 job in 2 years.
Well, you average 2.5 years per job.
No,
that's what
you can't. That's not the argument.
Well, it doesn't suit your argument.
I spent 4 years. Plus at Blackburn Rovers.
Let's get off you now. I know it's your favourite subject, but let's move on to something else.
That's enough about me. Let's talk about me.
The bottom line is that what you did was you categorised De Zerbi with only the risk column. Now, hang on, I'm finished. You turn around and put all the debits. You didn't put any credits, right? Your soliloquy was
2 years.
Risk. And now what you're saying now is. Or every appointment's a risk.
No, I'm pointing out you. I spent five years,
6 years.
5 years at Rangers, close to 5 years at.
Back to you again. We've moved on from you
because it doesn't suit your argument.
It does suit my argument.
So it shows that I'd had longevity in a couple of jobs. This chap has had 7 jobs in 9 years, which would suggest he can't have been anywhere.
And you had 5 jobs in 5 years.
No, it's not. We've just gone through the arithmetic.
I've got it here.
It's not correct then.
There's a slight element of hypocrisy in your argument about De Zerbi, is there not?
Boatload of it.
No, but I'm making the point. People could say I was a risk going to Galatasaray. I would have agreed with that. I know nothing about Turkish football.
And you went to Torino.
Agreed. I'm a risk.
Southampton.
I'm a risk.
That wasn't great, was it?
No, because I had a 3-year contract. Then there was a chap who I bet you went to school with, Rupert.
So I knew you were going to say that. I didn't. See, it's always someone else's fault. Have you heard a typical, horrible, ghastly football manager? It's always somebody else's fault.
I worked with a chap called Rupert, and I quickly realised I couldn't. I bet
he's
a mate of yours.
He's got to be a mate of yours. Not a mate of mine.
He's so a mate of yours.
No, he's not.
Listen, after what he did in his first day, he cutting De Zerbi a bit more slack. We'll see what he's made of.
Slack. It's one game.
Yeah, but that's a silly argument, Jim, because that is Graham Potter's team. That's Graham Potter's team. If he's got any sense about him, he wouldn't change anything for the first for 5 minutes.
No, but Graham was suggesting that he's coming in and he doesn't know anything about our game.
Yeah, but you're now suggesting that he does, because one game of Graham Potter's team against Liverpool. Graham, of course, the ridiculous notion that Graham then advances is that Liverpool were in decline for this particular conversation.
Because it's a phrase I hate, and I always say this. Do you think he deserves a bit more credit from you this morning?
What you would say is he's had a fabulous start because he should have won at Liverpool by all accounts for the first half performance. So he's had a fabulous start. Now he's got to build on it. But there's nothing I've said I would retract. The 3 points I made are factual.
Well, they are, but he didn't give anything in the positive column. He left those standing in. That was in the ether. That was it. Negative. No positive.
What, from him?
From him,
yeah.
Yes.
So positive.
You said nothing positive.
I don't know the guy. I can't say.
But you know enough about him to highlight the risks.
Will they last longer than you lasted in Torino?
Let's tell different stories.
Will they last longer than you lasted at Torino? So, yeah. What happened at Torino?
It was a nothing for a situation.
Nothing to do with him.
Nothing, of course, nothing to do with him.
I'd signed a 3-year deal at Southampton. I loved it.
Is this a long story?
Short version,
it's worth listening to. I ended up living there for a good 12, 13 years.
Coming.
Yeah. So I liked we're not talking about Crystal Palace. So then Rupert came along, and I quickly realised one of Simon's mates came along.
It's not Rupert. One of my mates.
I bet you went to school with Rupert.
I can assure you he's not.
I'll bet you went to school with Rupert.
Well, you can bet.
So then I decided I couldn't work there, so I resigned after a year, and I'd loved it. So I resigned, and I was offered a job immediately to go to Torino. Met the guys in London. I said, yeah, I'll have some of that. I loved living in Italy. Went there. The first day of work, they said to me, oh, you'll like what we've done. I said, what's that? We've signed 18 new players, and they gave me 6 games.
No. But that's what happens when you take a job in the strength
No due diligence.
Okay.
And I was a risk because I didn't know about Torino.
You didn't talk about football. You spent all the time talking about yourself.
It's outrageous.
No, that's not true.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.